Oh, I do like to be beside the seaside. I do like... Ah! Hello, children. Back for more terrifying stories, are we? Well, never fear, 'cause I've got some doozies for you today. Turn out the lights and prepare to be scared. The ice cream truck sat almost silent on the empty earth, the ground itself a mosaic of desiccated brown that gave way only to the Stygian sky at the long, unbroken horizon. Coming here had seemed like a good idea at the time. Herman leant on the sill of the serving window, arms folded and with one eye on the slow ooze of the frosty whip nozzle. The clearing of the relief zone had been absolute. Not even a cigarette butt was left. When the cataclysm happened, everyone was supposed to come here, to an area the size of 3 states made sterile. Where was everyone? Herman's brother had snuck him in. He worked in the military at some skunkworks project he said was about bacteria or something. Over the whir of the truck's generator, an odd noise. Herman squeezed into a stretch to try and turn off the power. The sound was louder now. Herman almost gouged out a kidney on the gear lever as he wedged forward into the cab. He found the power switch, flipped it. The sound was rising to a roar, and now the sun had gone in. What little light could penetrate groundward somehow gone. Herman craned his head out of the serving window to the rear of the truck. The sun was not gone. The truck and every inch of ground for a few hundred yards was in shadow. The conglomerate mass of bodies and agonized faces tumbling towards him made Herman dizzy. Alive like some gargantuan bacteria, the assembled inhabitants of the relief zone, swelling and contracting as one rushed towards him. Herman scrambled back to the cab, lunging a foot hard onto the accelerator. The truck took off from the fractured dirt, its siren belting out the music equivalent of "Oh, I do like to be beside the seaside." It was too late. The curdling mass of bodies howled as it rolled the truck. Herman, thrown forwards, hit the dashboard hard. For the briefest of moments, hundreds and thousands filled the air, and then darkness. Somewhere in the Midwest, shambling from state to state, Earth's one vast survivor groans on, long past the passing of mankind, accompanied by "Oh, I do like to be beside the seaside." Sir Rupert Golding was dying. Yes, it was true. He had to admit it. The cancerous tumour in his bowels, burning like a ball of hot lead in his guts, would not allow him to forget it, or pretend it wasn't true. He lay in the large 4-poster bed in the master bedroom of his lavish mansion in Los Angeles, laying upon Egyptian cotton sheets, with pillows so soft it was like laying his head upon a cloud. But dying in luxury was still dying. "Oh!" he grunted, as the evil beast in his bowels stabbed at him again. "Can I get you anything else, sir?" Leopold asked. Although the butler was coming near to his 50th birthday, Rupert still thought of the tall man with the receding hairline as the kid. Despite his pain, he smiled to himself. "No, thank you, Leo. I would pretty much say this is the end of the line. You should see yourself to bed." "Sir," he protested. "Do not worry about me. I am expecting one final guest tonight. They will sit with me. I suspect I shall not be here when you awake in the morning. Thank you, Leopold, for all your years of service, for being an honourable gentleman, and my friend." Rupert was not a sentimental man, at least not outwardly. His father had beaten that out of him during his early years, showed him the ropes of how to be tough. This had given him the tools he had needed to establish his business and become so successful. Still, he sometimes wished his father had been a little more open with his emotions. "Sir, I will need to stay up to admit your guest," Leopold said quietly. Rupert thought that the younger man had a catch in his throat, might even be crying, but he would not embarrass him by pointing it out. Relations between men could be so odd sometimes, he mused. "No need, he will see himself in," Rupert assured him. "Good night, my friend." There were a few seconds of silence before Leopold opened the door and obediently left his master's quarters for the last time. Outside, a gentle rain began to fall across the glass, beating out a gentle rhythm, a lullaby to see him off. Around 1:45 he heard the heavy stomping of boots coming up the stairs to the first floor. He listened, not afraid, but resigned, as the footsteps travelled up the corridor towards his room. The heavy footfalls were accompanied by another sound, one he couldn't quite place. It was like a rattling noise. The visitor came to a stop just outside of the room. There was a pause, and then the door swung open. Pale moonlight silhouetted the figure stood there, though that was more than enough to recognise him. Rupert smiled, a warm and genuine smile. "I suspected it would be you," he said. "Come on in. I suppose I should say howdy." The figure at the door stepped into the room. He was a broad-shouldered man with high cowboy boots, complete with the metal stars on the back. A large 10-gallon hat sat atop his head of the ruggedly handsome man who had come to see him. I remember being at my father's bedside when he passed away. He wasn't ready to go at the time, kept wondering if he had done enough, if he had left anything behind. Then all of a sudden he became calm, kept looking to the door as if there was somebody there that I couldn't see. Whoever it was, he was so pleased to see them. He lay there talking to the thin air for a while, and I thought he'd gone mad. The old age robbed him of his mental faculties as well as his physical. I was about to leave the room, convinced he no longer knew I was there, when he suddenly gripped my hand, so tight. He was smiling a bright smile, and he told me that it was his time, that his deadline had come due. "We all have deadlines, Rupert. Can't stop 'em, can't outrun 'em. You just have to make sure you do everything you want to do before your deadline comes up." Rupert paused as another bout of pain rocked through his gut. When he felt able to continue, he said, "I asked my father, 'How do you know, Dad?' And he said, 'I know, son, because Teddy Roosevelt just told me.' He died 30 seconds later, a smile on his face. My dad always loved Teddy Roosevelt, really looked up to him, you know. For a long time I thought it was just a delusion, but that smile on his face was so genuine. I got to thinking, maybe he had been visited by the angel of death, taken from this life to the next. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Why would you show up as a skeleton in a black cloak, hauling a giant scythe behind you? Nobody would ever want to go with you then. No. It makes much more sense to appear in a form more pleasing to them. Somehow I knew this idea was right. I spent a lot of time in the years since, wondering what you would be when my deadline came due. Now I see you and I realise it couldn't have been anybody else." Rupert smiled and gave a small chuckle. "I didn't have a good childhood. My father always felt I was too scrawny, too small, not tough enough. I remember I idolised you, watching all your movies, every single one. Always wanted to be you. It makes perfect sense for you to be here. It's good to see you, Duke. I'm ready to go," Rupert said, feeling completely at peace with the achievements of his life. The figure in the cowboy hat nodded and held out his hand. Rupert smiled and took it, ready for whatever came next. I am your worst nightmare. I know everything there is to know about you. Wonderful thing, the internet. I can pinpoint your whereabouts 24/7. Should you be worried? Absolutely. Now, my regular readers, and I thank you for your support, will remember that I was recently gifted a gun, thanks to the swarthy gentleman I sat next to on a recent train journey. And guess what else I was gifted? One super shiny, unused bullet. And have I got the ideal target in mind to receive the super shiny bullet? Of course I do. But I need to plan my move carefully. Go in from behind, as it were. A bit like you, really. You like to strike from behind, don't you? With your sneaky ways and acidic tongue. Well, two can play your game. Mind you, let's be very clear, this is not my usual style. Oh, no. I have had to make changes. But I did have the very best teacher, albeit unwanted, didn't I? Good job I'm a quick learner, isn't it? Mind you, it has taken almost a year, 342 days to be exact, for me to develop a hardened shell and a calculating mind. I suspect that these qualities were always there, deep down. They just needed a little encouragement to surface. But they're firmly embedded, make no mistake, and now acquired these skills need to be used before common sense kicks in and they disappear back into the depths of my innocent mind. I know, just kidding. So enough of my ramblings. I'll finish as I started by saying, I am your worst nightmare. So if I were you, which thankfully I am not, I would not go to sleep any time soon. Sweet touch, no. Well, that brings us to the end of tonight's episode. Now run away, children. Run away back to your beds and get some sleep, if you can. I'll see you next time in the library, if you dare.